Right, guys, let's take a look at what we have here in the CFMoto Ibex 450. So we've got a 270-degree crank with a 449cc parallel twin. It's a dual counterbalanced engine. CFMoto says it's putting out around 44 horsepower at 8,500 RPM and 33.5 pound-feet of torque, and that's coming in at 6,250. You also have a 6-speed transmission with a slipper clutch. The frame is a chromoly steel frame with a detachable subframe and down tubes that cradle the engine. Those can all be replaced. You've also got like 2 ride modes. You got traction control that you can turn off, ABS that you can turn off at the rear wheel, big old 5-inch TFT display, and a 4.6 gallon tank. They said they managed to keep the weight low, but as far as the COG is concerned, but we'll find out a little bit later in the day. Seat height in the stock position is 32.3 inches, and you can raise that up a bit to a few inches above. But what's also cool is you can lower it via this lowering link that has a 2-position system. And I think they said that drops it from this high seat height to like 2.5 inches lower from the high seat. In terms of suspension travel, we have 8 inches at either end, and you've got full adjustability on the fork. These are supplied by KYB. And you've got rebound and preload in the shock for adjustment. Remote reservoir there. Wheel set's gonna be 21/18. What's also cool is you can see that we have a cross-spoked tubeless wheel. Pretty awesome to see on a bike for 6,500 bucks. And stopping power comes from these this J1 4-piston caliper 320mm rotor. See how that stuff works later today. Also got an adjustable windscreen here. Got handlebars that you can move around a little bit to get a little bit of adjustability out of it. But yeah, I mean, if you guys haven't been paying attention too much, obviously CFMoto has been putting out some pretty cool new models. I think for me, this is one of the most exciting. And yeah, the company started in 1989 and has since grown to 5,500 people. They've got 6 production plants, 4 R&D centers, one of which is in Plymouth, Minnesota. And yeah, here's the other colorway decked out with some accessories. It's really sharp. You can see this detail on the plastic here. It looks really nice. Love this kind of Kashima style coloring on the fork for this this colorway. You've got the big crash bars. Another cool feature is the flip-in mirrors that are standard. Going off-road, you can tuck those in so you don't break them off. This is a high windshield here. And again, crash bars, skid plate, bags, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, about to chat out on some breakfast and get out, sweat our butts off here in the Philippines, and enjoy an awesome ride. We'll report back later. First stop of the day here on the beach. Got a chance to do a little ripping around this circle here, which seems like traction for the sand is kind of perfect right now, but these kind of Pirelli STR-esque CST tires are pretty good for this. And honestly, the way the power comes on is super linear, and the whole bike, you can kind of brake slide into a corner and then get on the gas and carry it through. A lot of fun so far. Pretty dusty, very humid. So another gripe, which is I've kind of experienced with other CFMotos, the only 2 other bikes that I've ridden, there's a little bit of, I don't know, sloppy feeling at low RPM. On-off throttle is a little bit abrupt, and you kind of get this surge when you get right on the throttle, and then it, you know, kind of peters out. And once you climb up in the RPM range, it smooths itself out, but kind of around town speeds or just on and off throttle in general, it's a bit lurchy, which is kind of annoying. You don't really notice it once you're keeping it up in the revs, but it's just kind of a nuisance, you know, when you're going around town. And then there's the clutch. The transmission shifts really smoothly and positively, but I mean, the nice part about having the slipper clutch on there is the feel of the lever is it's really light, but then actually feeling what's happening with the engagement point is it's really hard to tell. One of the guys out here kind of burned up the clutch, got it pretty hot, so it stopped, you know, working the way it should for a bit. And I think, you know, that's probably due to not really being able to feel what's going on there with the engagement point on the clutch. I think, you know, some of my favorite features on this bike, especially at the price point, are going to be the tubeless wheels are great. And then really what was super convenient is there's a dedicated button to turn off ABS, but when you turn that off, it also disables traction control. So if you, it's just a long press of that button, and then you've got traction control disabled, and you've disabled ABS at the rear wheel. The only thing with that is that the front ABS setting doesn't change, so it's the same setting for the street. Some of the people that were out there with us today were having a bit of an issue with that on some rocky downhills. I was surprised that it was pretty easy to manage even on that kind of terrain. I expected it to be a real nuisance off-road, and that wasn't the case. I was able to kind of ride around it fairly easily. So definitely cool to have that in one press of a button, and you can do it on the fly. And to turn it on, it's also just a quick press, so you can do all of that on the fly, which is super convenient. The bike will retain that setting if you use the kill switch to turn the bike off. If you cycle the key, it will revert to the standard system. And although they call it kind of an off-road mode, it's more of, you know, tweaking the ABS and traction control. So this bike doesn't really have ride modes because it's also got a cable throttle. By the end of the day at the off-road park, after we were spinning laps for the photographer, the bike really started shining, and it's really stable. The fully adjustable fork is another great option at this price point. And then, you know, having the adjustability out back on the shock is great too, but the kind of initial settings are, I'd say, a little bit firm, and some of the kind of just bumpy roads, it feels somewhat harsh. But we didn't get a lot of time to spend making adjustments and whatnot. But for kind of the middle of the road settings, riding off-road, it really soaked it up, I would say, better than most of us expected. I mean, the stuff is pretty good right out of the box. So, you know, you don't have to, you know, it's not like some bikes at this price point or displacement where it's just super soft and really blows through the travel. It holds itself up really well. Yeah, I would say one of the things that I really liked when we were at the off-road park after we got some time, you know, spent some time on the bike, it's really stable off-road. And once you slide the bike around and start, you know, drifting through corners and stuff like that, or again, like making your way up some tight switchbacks that were, you know, full of silt and whatnot, you kind of learn that you can really trust the bike. And I was following a friend of mine through some stuff, and he nearly lost it, but he kept it together, and it kind of made me, you know, think about my riding too. And I was just like, this is pretty forgiving, because once you do kind of get past where you wanted to go, maybe in a slide or something like that, it actually reins itself back in pretty well. So I mean, the bike is really stable. In terms of on-road performance, we didn't get a ton of time on the road. I mean, we probably spent 80% of our day in the dirt. But that said, in some tighter stuff, it did feel like the bike was pretty slow steering. I think I need to preface, well, this entire experience with the fact that we saw 100 kph very seldom. Like, we're talking like, you know, under 30 seconds of our entire ride were we going that fast. So we were going at an island pace. So I'm really curious to get this bike back in the States. So, you know, that's our primary market. So I'm kind of curious how it works on higher speeds and getting it into the canyons, mountain roads and whatnot to really have a go at the street performance, because I don't really have a lot to say about it right now. Yeah, I mean, wrapping things up, guys, I think that you know, for a bike at this price point and this segment, which, you know, obviously there are bikes in this small displacement kind of adventure arena, but there's nothing quite like this bike, with being the 450, the parallel twin, and pretty good performance for you know, really dedicated off-road adventure bike. Like, there's not much else in this class. They've kind of carved out their own little niche, and it's a bike that I think a lot of people have been asking for and are interested in. And one of the guys mentioned it kind of felt like a baby Tenere, and you know, I can see that on some levels, but I don't know, it's gonna be a really good option. I think, again, like, people have been looking for this kind of bike, and CFMoto delivered, and fit and finish was good. We didn't have any weird breakdowns. I mean, after a day ride on the Palawan Island, I'm hard pressed to say anything else terribly negative about it. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully we get a bike in the States here soon. I know they already offered up a long term, so maybe we can do that. But yeah, really curious to see, you know, once they get out there and start giving demo rides and get them in dealerships, really curious to hear what more people think about it. So that kind of does it for me, guys. Thanks for watching. And from Palawan in the Philippines, we'll see you next time.